We're going to make some pimento cheese. Now, for those of you outside of the South, you might not have had pimento cheese. Well, once you taste this, you're going to wish you had been born in the South. Pimento cheese is just a staple, and it's something that I associate with summer. And basically, it's just a cold salad, and the base of it is cheese and mayonnaise and pimento. And then from there, everybody does a lot of different varieties. So we're going to make a fairly simple one today. And I'm going to start with mayonnaise. Now, mayonnaise is just a staple, and some of you are like, why is she putting the mayonnaise in first? Do the cheese. But I also like to use a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit of cream cheese in my pimento cheese. So this is a cup or so of mayonnaise. Now I'm using Thrive Market avocado mayonnaise. I love that. It's actually Primal Kitchen. You don't have to buy it at Thrive Market. But it's made with avocado oil. You can also use a Duke's mayonnaise. Duke's is definitely a Southern mayonnaise. It doesn't have any sugar, and so Duke's is really good. The only problem with Duke's is it does have soybean oil, and I personally try to avoid soy because of it being a phytoestrogen. So anyway, hormone disruptor. So I do try to avoid it. I've used it because we don't live in a perfect scenario, what's ideal, but I take the mayonnaise, and you can use a homemade mayonnaise. I've never had a lot of luck with making a homemade mayonnaise that we loved. But I'm mixing 2 ounces of cream cheese, that's at room temperature, and 1 cup of mayonnaise. Again, use your favorite. I'm using, like I said, the Primal mayonnaise, and I buy it online. I actually get it at Amazon, and I'll include a link for that. And I bought, the last time I bought a case, yes, 12 jars, and the jars are fairly small, and my husband kind of looked at me when it came like, do you have a problem? And I'm like, not anymore. I got my Primal mayonnaise. I'll show you what it looks like. And this is it. And the jars are fairly small, and it is expensive, but I do love it because it doesn't have the bad oils, and it keeps a while. It's so strong. I can make it, but when I try to make it with olive oil, it gets bitter. And when I try to make it with avocado oil, it honestly just doesn't taste as good. And avocado oil is expensive. So by the time I do all my experimenting, I can just buy that. But you do what works for you. So 1 cup of mayonnaise and 2 ounces of cream cheese at room temperature. And I'm using the cream cheese. That's 1 carb per serving. Now, what cheese do you use? This is probably the most important part of this recipe, is the cheese. You can get different flavors using different types of cheese. This is just a cheddar, kind of a plain cheddar, a mild cheddar, and honestly, it was what was on sale. So it's probably Kraft. I shredded it myself. A lot of the shredded cheese have added food starches, and so we try to avoid that. This is, I think, this is a blend. This is a Cabot Seriously Sharp, and with it, I think I threw in some Kerrygold cheese. It was kind of a clean out the fridge cheese, and so I got some of the bits and pieces. You can use smoked Gouda, anything that you can kind of shred, you can put in here. I did shred all of it in my food processor, and I have a really basic and expensive food processor, and so I shredded it. But I like to mix cheeses. You don't have to do that. One of my best friends growing up, her mom made the best pimento cheese, and she did a mix of really sharp and mild. So that's why I do it. But you don't have to do that. But that's 16 ounces. So it was 8 ounces of each. It's 16 total ounces of shredded cheese. And that was the weight. And obviously, then I shredded it. I just buy the big blocks and shred. That's the hardest part of this recipe, guys, is shredding the cheese. So like I said, you can buy the pre-shredded. I just don't because I'm weird that way. You're going to mix in the mayonnaise and the cream cheese with the shredded cheese. And from here's where it all gets a little interesting. I'm going to add in pimentos. Now, my husband's not crazy about the pimento part of pimento cheese, and so I'm only going to use a tablespoon. So I guess it's kind of our token pimento. You can use more than that. A lot of people use about double that. I'm sticking with a tablespoon. From here on out, kind of all the quantities that I am putting in are really fairly negotiable. The same thing with the mayonnaise. Some cheeses are drier than others, so if you find you need to add more mayonnaise, just add a tablespoon or so at a time, and to see how wet it is, and then you'll get a feel for if you need more mayonnaise. In fact, I may need to add more mayonnaise to my mixture. Okay, the next thing I'm going to put in is a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. Buy the cleanest Worcestershire you can, what you like, what you can afford, but that's just Worcestershire that I found that is lower carb, no sugars to it. And then this is, again, optional, but it's 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder. Not much, just 1/4 teaspoon, but it gives it a nice flavor. And then I'm going to add 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. And this is completely optional too. It just gives it a little bit of a kick. And some people are probably looking at it going 1/4 teaspoon, and they would add a lot more than that. But that's what I'm adding. All right, let's give this a stir. And then one of my favorite things to add to pimento cheese is bacon. You're not surprised about that at all, are you? We love bacon around here, and thank goodness it's an easy part of a low-carb, high-fat diet. I'm going to add 3 tablespoons, and yes, I measured it. Normally I wouldn't. I'd throw it in there until it looked right. And I'm actually going to add, while I'm doing this, another tablespoon of mayonnaise to this. So you can see it's a cup, and I've added a tablespoon. Start with a cup and then add more as you go along. I'm not adding salt to this. Some people will add salt and pepper. Not adding salt because I think cheese tends to be salty, and the bacon tends to be salty. So I'm just going to mix this around, and that extra tablespoon of mayonnaise was the right thing to do. Now, here's the thing about pimento cheese. Some of you are going, wait a minute, what do you eat with pimento cheese? I mean, most people put it on a bread, they make pimento cheese sandwiches, or they put it on crackers. Well, I know you're going to ask me, what do you eat it with? What do you eat it on? I eat it with a spoon. That is the best way to eat it, a spoon. Now, if that doesn't, it's not your kind of style, it's really good with pork rinds. So you can use, if you eat pork rinds, it's really good with that. It's also, I can imagine it being on a sandwich made with soul bread, and I do have my version of soul bread out there. I can also imagine it being used with, or I have eaten it with, warmed. And so you can put it in a little dish, a baking dish, and you can put it in the oven and bake it. And so it becomes like a hot cheese dip. Again, you can use your pork rinds, use celery sticks, a spoon. Any of those things work really well. And then you can also, with pimento cheese, I love it on burgers. And so when you make a burger, pull it off the grill or off the skillet and put just a dollop of cream cheese on top of it. And it gets kind of melty. And that's another favorite way for us to eat pimento cheese. Okay, I'm going to give it a try. I don't think, David, are you willing to try it? David says he's willing to try it. I'm going to have to hand it to him off camera because he's not dressed for company. I'm going to hand that to him and see what he thinks. I'll get another spoon for me. What does it need? You're looking at me like it needs something. No? No? It tastes about right to me. He probably would like a little more cayenne pepper. Yeah, that's it. And it could probably use a little more bacon. I put 3 tablespoons in there, and probably could add another 1 or 2 tablespoons to get that, kick the bacon flavor up a notch. As it sits, like a lot of cold salads, as it sits, the flavor's only going to intensify, and the cheese flavors will come out even more. So keep it in the fridge and let it kind of sit, and you will have some really good Southern pimento cheese.